and welcome to this week's Quick Tip Tuesday, number 4. And today's topic is this really NGSS? 3 key tools for evaluating NGSS curriculum. So let's get started. So if you've been looking this summer for high quality instructional materials that support student instruction towards the goals of NGSS, I bet you have. Summer is a great time to be looking for ideas for next year. But there's all sorts of products and programs that have filled the science instructional materials marketplace claiming they support the NGSS. But do they really? Beware of buzzwords such as students will learn with inquiry-based instruction, or these lessons are based on three-dimensional teaching and learning. Look out for association claims like a product prominently using the NGSS colors on promotional materials or with labels proclaiming this product helps teachers transition to the NGSS. Be skeptical of statements that say things like, our product is aligned to the NGSS, or this program covers all 3 dimensions, or this product fulfills 100% of the NGSS, or this product meets the NGSS innovations. Because just because a claim is made, it doesn't mean it's true. Basically, they're going to slap these labels on instructional materials saying that it's NGSS, but doesn't necessarily mean it's NGSS because, well, let's find out why. It's essential to evaluate the evidence behind these claims, as well as the overall NGSS design of these instructional materials. Fortunately, there are tools that NGSS have created and achieve to use as educators to assess these claims and to make sure that the instructional materials we are choosing for our classroom do support the goals of NGSS. So one of the big ones is the EQUIP rubric for science. And that, of course, is an acronym, which I didn't write down what it stands for, so I can't help you right now, but you can Google that. And that was created by Achieve. And that is used by Achieve also to, if you might have heard of units that have received the design badge, which means that it's definitely aligned to NGSS. Well, this is the rubric that the reviewers use to evaluate units that are that they get to see if they really do meet NGSS. So this is a rubric that they use, and so you're welcome to use it as well. And so the purpose of this rubric and review process is to review existing lessons and units that are already out there to determine whether or not they meet the NGSS, and then if they don't, what revisions need to be made. It'll help you provide constructive, criterion-based feedback so that you can say, no, this isn't NGSS because, and then it offers you language to use for suggestions for improvement. And then EQUIP rubrics helps you identify examples or models for teachers to use within and across the state. So we're all using the same language to evaluate instructional materials. And it hopefully helps people who are developing these new lessons, units, and other instructional materials. If those who are developing it use this rubric to help them develop the materials, then they will be developing materials that are aligned to NGSS. So this EQUIP rubric is really valuable tools. So the 3 categories that are in the rubric that are used for evaluation there's the first part, which is it NGSS 3-dimensionally designed? Does it have NGSS instructional supports? And how is it at monitoring NGSS student progress? So those are the 3 main parts that the EQUIP rubric is evaluating. Is it 3-dimensionally designed? Does it include instructional supports, NGSS instructional supports? And how does it monitor NGSS student progress? So it is possible for you to use this rubric by yourself to evaluate instructional materials, whole units, and whole lessons. It can be a little bit overwhelming to see at first, but take a deep breath and go through it bit by bit. But it really works best when you have a team of reviewers. So it could be your grade level team or your science curriculum committee, and then have you all kind of record your thoughts and then come together and discuss what you guys came up with each lesson plan or each unit. You definitely need to have an understanding of the framework and NGSS to really get to understand this rubric. And then to also understand the NGSS shifts, which is in the Appendix A of the NGSS. Now, all the links that I'm saying here are included in the show notes, so please make sure you check that out after this episode. And so then next, another tool that is out there is the Science Task Pre-Screen, and I'll have a link for that as well. So the second tool is the Science Task Pre-Screen, and it builds on Category 3 of the EQUIP rubric for science. And if you remember, the Category 3 is monitoring NGSS student progress. So this is to look at basically looking at the formative and summative assessment tasks that are within the instructional materials. This isn't used to evaluate a whole lesson or a whole unit, so it's just used to look at the task assessments. But it's a great place to start. And so there's the pre-screener and then the screener. So I'm going to talk about the pre-screener first. The screener is more thorough, and the pre-screen is like a quicker initial analysis. So that might be the one to start with. If you don't have a lot of experience with the framework or NGSS, again, the screener and the EQUIP rubric can be a little overwhelming to begin with. So the Science Task Pre-Screen might be a good place just to start with something that you already have, like in a lesson plan. Let's look at your task assessment, and let's just use this pre-screen to really just do a quick checklist. Is this NGSS? Because if the task assessment is not NGSS, then your lesson plan is not going to be NGSS. So anyways, good place to start. So the purpose of this task pre-screen is to conduct a quick review of assessment tasks to determine whether or not they fit the framework, and which would include NGSS. So again, it's definitely more powerful to use in a group, but for sure can be used by an individual. So I would use this to quickly screen a large set of tasks, of science tasks and assessments, and to decide, okay, which might just need a little tweaking if they don't get a lot of red flags. So I like it because it visually shows you the red flags. This is not an NGSS lesson. So some might just need a little tweaking. And then if you're seeing a lot with a lot of red flags, you know what, just take that and just toss it and find another. It's beyond hope at this point. And so that's a good place to start. And it's also actually a really great tool to maybe even start for people who are just starting out with the NGSS. Might be a good professional learning tool to use in your group to say, okay, let's look at this task and let's look at this task pre-screener. Let's go through it and real quickly decide if it's NGSS or not. And then it gives you like a common language to talk about in a group. It's kind of a good segue into beginning the discussion of what is NGSS and what isn't NGSS. Again, the links to this is in the show notes. Okay, and number 3, I got 3 minutes. Let's see if I can do this. The Science Task Screener. Now, the Science Task Screener is a little bit more thorough than the pre-screener, and then the real power of this one is the meaningful conversations that you can drive. The questions that it asks as you're going through the task assessments within instructional materials are really powerful. Again, the common language, everyone having a common eye of what to look for in instructional materials. So I, again, would use this after you've gone through the pre-screener and there's ones that just need tweaking, then go through that activity or go through that task assessment with this task screener to kind of dive into it a little bit deeper. And so it's going to help you determine whether classroom assessment tasks within instructional materials are actually eliciting evidence of three-dimensional thinking and performance from the students. So this will see whether or not the responses you get back from your students are actually showing you evidence of three-dimensional thinking and performance. It's also a great tool to check on your common assessments that you might have in your district or school, in your own school. So it helps you to design and evaluate locally developed assessments, including final exams and local task libraries that you might be creating. So not only can the screener help you evaluate instructional materials, but it can also help you create instructional materials, because you want then your instructional materials that you are creating to be able to pass this screener. And so that helps. And then again, it helps you provide professional learning for teachers or administrators who want a more rigorous understanding of the three-dimensional assessment. So again, great place to start are these 3 tools for evaluating any instructional materials that you might be thinking about ordering or bringing into your school district or your school for the fall for the school year. Okay, so again, all the links that I mentioned in this quick tips is in the the show notes, and you can find that if you just go to www.ngsnavigators.com/podcast. You can just find this quick tip episode, and this quick tips episode blog post or show notes will be up a little bit later, probably tomorrow. Now I got it in within 10 minutes, but I have a couple announcements here at the end. One is, unfortunately, due to all these scheduling mishaps that I've had to handle due to my medical needs at this point, I've had to reschedule a lot of interviews. So unfortunately, we have nothing ready for this Thursday for our interview podcast, but we have a bunch coming up next week, interviews getting back into the swing of things. And so we'll be back on schedule for next week. And I'll try to do 2 interviews in 1 week to make up for the loss of this week. So I guess we can say that we're on a summer break this Thursday, and we hope to be back to normal really soon. So that's all for today for Quick Tips Tuesday. We'll be back at you next week for Quick Tip number 5, and it'll be all about, does my phenomenon have to be phenomenal? So stay tuned for next week, and next Thursday, I promise we'll be back on track with interviews. We've got a great lineup, but we're always open to suggestions. You can let us know what you'd like to hear or who you'd like to hear from at podcast@ngsnavigators.com. And remember, you are phenomenal. Bye-bye.